Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. I know it's a great day out there, and you'd probably rather be in the park or something, but so it's nice of you to be here in this enclosed space with us. Anybody here ever done anything with called TtV Photography? Anybody ever heard of it before? Okay, online. If you go to Flickr, they've got a whole or several groups set up that use through the viewfinder or TtV photography, and this is actually TtV stands for through the viewfinder. And it all starts with those old cameras that you or your parents had hanging around. They're in a box somewhere, or you see them at a flea market and you think, oh, sure, they're selling those. Nobody wants them anymore. Well, people have found a use for them. It's a twin lens reflex camera with the waist level viewfinder, the kind that you flip up and look down through. And I'm sure a lot of you here may have had one when you were younger, or seen one. Your grandparents had one, or your parents had one, and you played with it. And it was just a fun thing to play with. Well, now we're playing again, which is a lot of fun. And for me, that's the reason for doing TtV. It's something, it's different, it's fun, and you get to recycle these old cameras and give them a new life. Okay, so when you look into the viewfinder, you see what's out there. You're looking actually through the top lens of the twin lens reflex camera. And so you get this different, you get generally a square shape. They're not all the same. You can see that the image on the left is larger. It's a bigger viewing screen than the one on the right. There are so many different types of cameras. Some of them actually have a grid or some kind of marks on them. Some have little arrows coming in. And so you're photographing this screen, so if there are grid marks on it, you get those grid marks in your image. And I think for an image like this, it really works well. It makes it a little different, kind of interesting. Okay, the crux of this whole project is to build something called a contraption. And that's what everybody online calls it. It's a contraption. On Flickr site, they've got a little sidebar that says, show us your contraption. And people send in pictures and designs. And this particular one was designed by a guy named Russ Morris, and he's really prominent on TtV. He was one of the first people on Flickr to do this, and he loves to design and build things. And so he came up with this model. He had an earlier model that looked similar to what we have here, just a box, and it was static, and he was carrying it around. And then his wife said, we'll figure out how to make it easier to carry around. I guess he was complaining or something. But so he came up with this, again, this very elegant design, but he made it so that you can fold it. So he's got all these seams in it, and it's foldable now. He can stick it in his camera bag and take it wherever he goes. And he just has to stick the camera in separately. So you're not carrying this huge contraption around wherever you go, because people tend to look at you kind of strangely when you do that. But you get used to it. If you want instructions, this website here, it's russmorris.com/TtV. I will probably have this presentation on the Image Factory Workshop website very soon after this, so that you can go and take a look at it. Okay, so as elegant as his design was, you've got people who will just go for it. Whatever's handy. Look through the kitchen cabinets. Well, I'm almost done with that cereal. Let's eat it up and make a contraption out of it. So here's, I don't know, Fruit Loops, whatever they are. It's unique, but it's fun. It kind of, to me, this kind of embodies the whole spirit of TtV. It's just like build something and let's take pictures with it. And of course, Russ Morris also did cereal boxes, but his again are just beautiful. And I love the all the characters, the kind, you know, the ones you grew up with. And I wanted to say, you know, they're great, but oh, somebody got that. Okay, my husband didn't get it at all. So okay, so a lot of the older cameras, as you can see here, they have the two lenses, but a lot of them also have knobs or buttons or something along the side, strap holders. So when you're building your contraption, you have to somehow adjust your contraption for those. I have students who not so great with adjusting things, and they just make a box and shove the camera in. It kind of bulges on one side, but it works. As long as it's fairly level, you can get a decent image from it. Okay, and again, there are so many different designs. Lots of people don't fill a box with the camera and cover the whole thing. They just cover the part of the camera that needs to be enclosed so that light doesn't get in. And you can see here the one on your left. They're using a small point and shoot camera that and they've just made a box. You know, it looks kind of like a tenement building. And the one on the right, the smokestack, is just one of those gift round, I think it's a liquor box. You know, when you give a gift or something, it's just a round box that happened to fit over the top of the camera. And as you can see, there's duct tape there. Okay, and this guy, he enclosed it's semi-enclosed. He's got duct tape all over the camera, and it continues up this tube. But at the top, you'll notice he's got a lens shade, which I thought was a really clever idea. So that now he just has to hook that onto his lens, and it's there. I wouldn't hang it from your camera, but you still have to support this. You can see his hand is underneath supporting that camera because there's some weight there. But I thought that was very clever, and it will probably save a lot of aggravation in the long run. When you're doing something like this where it doesn't move, where you can't move the camera up and down, you really need precise measurements. And we're going to show you how to do that a little later on, where we take the camera and you lay your camera on the table, you lay the old camera on the table, and you find the correct focusing distance. And that's the most important measurement, the minimum focusing distance. So if you look at the diagram here, you can see that it's the point from where your lens ends. You know, once you've got it in focus, the point from where your lens ends to the viewing screen of the TLR camera. And that's the number that you need to use when you're making your contraption. You've got to keep that in mind, because what you really don't want to do is when you put your camera in the top of this contraption, you can kind of pull it up and down a little bit, but don't forget you're holding the bottom of the camera, the lower camera. You're holding your camera up here, and you can kind of fudge a little bit with the focus, but you don't have a hand to manually focus, and you also can't get your hand in the box to focus. So if you can get this measurement just right, you just have to sit the camera in there and let it do its thing. And it should be perfectly focused if you've got the right measurement. Okay, this person made this tube, the smokestack look, but also if you'll notice the notch in the top there, I guess depending on how your camera is configured in the front when you lay it down in that tube, it wasn't sitting properly. It was kind of probably wobbling around. So he made this notch so that the top of the camera could sit in there and be level and not move around while he was trying to shoot. And I say I have no idea who made this. Okay. The big thing is if you, some people have tried to shoot using just a camera and the digital camera and the TLR camera, just looking down into it. And I guess if you're in a room where there isn't too much light, you could probably get something. But the biggest problem is reflection of light off of the viewing screen of the TLR. So if you look at this, here's one with no top on it. It's kind of curved, and it really reflects any light that's in the room. So if you don't have this completely protected, you get this terrible glare, and you really won't get a good image. So people, they come up with ideas. So the one on the left is the sock over the lens trick. What they did was they built this box. They put the camera in there, but they somehow, I don't know if they tape the sock in there and then they just slip it over the lens so that they can actually move their camera a little bit, but there's no light getting in. So you need a thick black sock if that's what you want to do. The one on the right is just the drawstring bag. I don't know where that came from, but you know, I think when you're making a contraption, you search high and low for anything that's going to work. Including probably going through somebody's garbage, because I don't know where else you'd find that. Okay, and this is, I love this one. This is two lens pouches, the double stitch together lens pouch trick. They've sewn them together in the middle. You can see where the drawstrings are, and then left the drawstring up near the top so that you can pull it tight around your lens. And obviously you can see the hole that they cut out for the camera that's in there. That could be a little tricky as far as focusing, getting it, because it's kind of wobbly. Unless the bottom camera is very heavy, you're going to have some wobble. So you have to be kind of careful managing and getting everything kind of straight. And then this is the who cares about light leaks when you have Mickey Mouse trick. Apparently it's, you know, again, this is one of those images that I just love because this person just went with it. You know, I've got this toy box. I'm gonna make something, and what can I do to keep light from coming in? Well, they just stuck the top of the box on the lens, and so when you put the lens in, it keeps light from hitting the viewfinder. So I thought that was kind of clever. Okay, and finally, this guy, I think he raided the plumbing store, and this, you know, don't even think about light leaks with this one. He's got, and if you'll notice I don't know, it's some kind of a flange. It takes water from a square thing to a round thing. I don't know what it's for. I think I've seen it in Home Depot, but you notice that little accordion piece in the middle will kind of let him move the camera up and down, so he doesn't have to worry too much about a perfect focusing distance.
It looks like a plunger.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, this took a lot of thought. I mean, this guy, it had to be a guy. I don't know. I hate to be sexist, but I really don't know a woman who would look for plumbing supplies when you're talking about creative photography. You never know. I do like the plumbing section. They have some interesting stuff. Yeah. Okay. So no matter what kind of contraption you decide to make, you have to plan it out first. Okay? So like this guy did, make a sketch, you measure, and then measure again. You know, you can never measure too many times before you start cutting the box. Otherwise, you're just going to be going through boxes. And as I said here, don't expect perfection, because that's what duct tape is for. You get it as close as you can, and then you fix it with the duct tape. As far as the boxes, you can. I use the from school. They have the drops, the paper background that come in. It's a roll, and it comes in the box. So I collect. When they throw out the box, I take them. And you can cut them, and they fit most of the cameras. But if you look around, some tablecloth, plastic tablecloth, came in a tube. I ordered some paper just recently from Blick, and it was big paper, and it came in a box like that. So, you know, as I said, raid your neighbor's garbage. It doesn't matter where you get it from, as long as it's the right size for your camera. How many of you here have old cameras? Do you have the TLRs? Okay, so you're ready to start shooting? Okay. Okay, so the whole thing is to, have fun with it. You have to remember that when you're shooting, the image is reversed in the TLR. So you're shooting a reversed image. And so you can see here, this is the image as I shot it. That was how it was set up. And it came out exactly the way you see it here, which it shouldn't have. It's reversed. So, and I made a print of this one. I don't know if I can move over here. Sorry. So I took the image, put it into Photoshop. I didn't do much to it, but I then made a transfer onto a printmaking paper. So and you could do this, you can take this image and in about 5 minutes, if you have a printer handy, come out with a print that looks kind of old, antique-y. Okay. So because the image is reversed, if you've got images that have any lettering or signs, keep that in mind before you print. And I'll show you. Okay, so this actually said no. And he left it. This is Russ Morris. He left it that way just because it looks cool. But if you wanted something, and sometimes you don't even realize it when you're taking a picture that there is a sign in the background. So you're going to have to, before you print, turn mirror image on, and you'll be able to read what's there. Okay, again, a nice sign. Really, would have been kind of strange if it were backwards. That drink looks pretty good right about now. Okay. Again, and you get some really interesting color casts. A lot of these cameras, the viewfinders weren't meant really to be used for photography. They were just for viewing the image. The light would come in through the bottom lens and hit the film, and what you were seeing was not through a perfect lens. So you have these little aberrations in the way the light comes in and the way the light hits that viewing screen. So you do get some really interesting images. And sometimes the light isn't quite perfect. Sometimes it's a little dark, a little light. You get some bleached out areas. But again, that's a function of your particular camera and how that viewing screen deals with the light. Okay. This was actually done by a student of mine last semester. She took this to a whole new level. She shot so many things, but I love this one because she actually set up she had a picture of her father with his first camera, and she reproduced it using her son. So she set it up, and there was the camera, and she combed his hair so he looked like he was from the 40s or 50s, and came out with this. So you get some really some beautiful. I mean, and it's soft, which I think works beautifully for this image. Okay, this is another student. This you can tell by this was a really dirty lens. Actually, it's the same lens I used for that camera he was using. I collect these cameras. I go to flea markets and I collect them and I hand them out to the students to use for the semester. So he used that one that was so schmutzy. I mean, it had so much stuff in it. It's probably not a technical. It is a technical term in this group. But I think it really works well for this particular image. And he shot this was his kitchen, and he shot his mother's garden. And I don't mind all that schmutz. It kind of works for these images. Okay, whoops, let's go back. And then what he did with this is he went and he made a book, because that's also part of the class. I teach, we do these all processes, and then one of the things we do is make books. So he did all of these, and then he transferred each of his images to a small piece of paper and bound it into a book. And it was really wonderful. So, you have to think about what you're going to do with these images. It's not just, you take them because they're kind of cool looking, but some of them really lend themselves well to, antique frames or handmade books, or just, viewing on the computer is fine, but I don't think you really can appreciate them as much as you can when you have a print in your hand. And that's a whole thing that we're kind of going through now. Here we are going back. We're kind of trying to be retro with these cameras. We're going back for this old look. It seems like we're looking for the history of photography in our own lives. We're searching for something that looks nostalgic. And a big part of that, I think, is to make prints. Too many people, and especially younger people, keep everything on the computer. There are no prints being made. And it's kind of hard to, like that student who had the image of her father. If she hadn't had that physical image in her hand, she wouldn't have been, she wouldn't have decided to make this image of her son in that way. So it's a new process, but it's kind of, it's bringing back the old process. It's bringing back the nostalgia. It's bringing back what we remember, a lot of us as children. We all had pictures to hold and look at. So if nothing else, from this, if you just decide that you're going to make images and print them, I think that'd be great, because we need that. I know, I'm sorry, I'm spouting, but I think about, because I've been looking through old pictures, and there's something beautiful about them. And they don't even have to be in focus. They can be, a lot of the lenses were dirty. They had these specks in them, but they're still beautiful images because they're part of our history and they're part of who we are. So just keep that in mind when you're shooting. Okay, so Photo Jojo. Anybody ever go to the Photo Jojo site? If not, you have to go there. If you like strange photography, interesting photography, fun photography, photojojo.com is the place to be. And they send out these emails with different lessons. And this one was how to shoot underwater TtV photos with a do-it-yourself periscope. And you can see what they did. They took the old camera. You have to be willing to take that old camera and submerge it in water. But you can take it, if you somehow hook it up, you can submerge it into a pond, or your own fish tank. You can sit at the bottom of a fish tank and get underwater photos without getting your own camera wet, which I thought was kind of fun. All right, so the question was, what kind of a lens do you use for this, and do you need to pre-focus? The answer for the first one is yes, you need a macro lens. I shoot Canon, so I've got the 100mm 2.8 lens, fully extended. And then you lay it on the table. You take your TLR camera and lay it down so that the lens is looking at the viewfinder. And then you find the correct distance by looking, in your camera. What you want is some people, there's a little disagreement about what to focus on. Some people focus strictly on the glass, and others, if they've got an image with depth to it, they focus on something that's in the image itself, so that the glass becomes kind of blurry. Different strokes. Whatever makes you happy, whatever image you like, is right for you. There's really, that's the other thing about this process. It's a very personal process. Everything you do with this, how you make it, even as to how you decorate the box, it's personal, and you make it the way so that you can make images that you like. And there is no right or wrong way. It's just fun. Just do it and have fun and see what you get. But this is really the only technical part here. So once you've got the proper viewing distance, you take your ruler and you measure from the end of your First you measure from the end of your lens. Okay, now it depends on what kind of box you're going to make. If you're going to put this in a box, like this, let's say it's about, okay, let's make it 7 inches. I'm just guessing here, okay. So say that's in focus. Depending on the box you're going to make. Now if this camera is sitting in the bottom of the box, okay, what we need to do to measure this is to measure not this distance so much. You want to know that minimum focusing distance, just so that you can then measure from the bottom of the camera to the part of your camera that's going to sit in the box. And this is a problem depending on the camera. This rest may not fit if the box is too wide, so you have to accommodate, maybe cut out a piece of the box. And we're going to actually build one a little later so that you can see what it looks like. And then you measure from here to here, and I've got 16.5 inches. So I would then cut my box, oh, look at that, 16.5 inches. So that when the camera goes in the bottom and your camera goes in the top, you've got that correct focusing distance set. It may take a couple of tries. You might have to, in some cases, if you're just off a little bit, you can actually take the top of this and build it up with tape or add another piece of cardboard to it. You know, it doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to work. Okay. All right. So that was one question. Anybody else have a question? Any ideas? Sure. What aperture do I use? I try to stick it around f8. Again, it depends. I'd rather change aperture than change my ISO setting, but generally it's a combination of both.
Also, are you using a lens cover to further reduce the distortion?
What do you mean? Oh, I'm sorry. Do I use a lens cover? What do you mean?
Lens filter. Do you shoot?
Oh no, I don't use a filter at all when I shoot. You're shooting through glass that's 50 years old, and through another lens that's all distorted and dirty. So, the filtration doesn't do much for you except protect your lens. In which case, in a box, it's not much is going to happen to it. Okay. Another question. All right. I think you were next.
Autofocus or manual focus?
Actually, if you've correctly measured, autofocus works fine. Manual focus is a little difficult because you'd have to get your hand in the box. Some people actually would prefer to manual focus, so what they'll do is they'll cut a little hole here so that they can stick their finger in, or cut down the side a bit so they can get in there and move the focusing ring. Okay? Yes?
Your favorite twin lens reflex?
Okay. Actually, this camera, most people love the Kodak, the Duoflex. Okay, the Duoflex 1, I think, does not have this big knob on the side. This is the Duoflex 3, but you can accommodate for the knob. You can actually measure, like the camera's going in here. What you do is you'll measure. You put the camera up to it, and you kind of make a little mark where the lens is, and then you know that this is going to be here, so you'll make a little mark here, and you can cut a little hole to accommodate that. And then you just kind of squeeze it in there until it pops out of the hole and you're good. Not high tech at all.
What about the, Rolleiflex or something?
A Rolleiflex is good. I know I've seen people use Hasselblads, which kind of blows my mind, but kind of defeats the purpose for me. But anything that you can find at a flea market that has, a lot of it has to do with the viewing screen. The bigger the viewing screen, the easier it will be to focus, because what's going to happen when you shoot down into this box, very often you get most of the camera, on your viewfinder. And so when you bring it, you'll have to bring it into Photoshop and crop that out. But if you can get, the bigger the view screen is here, the less camera, it depends on what you have, what you find, the size of this, if it's got any distortions in it. I go to a flea market. I go to a local flea market on Long Island, and I have a standing order with several of the vendors. Bless you. And I tell them, because I'm buying them for my class and for my students, I said I can't spend any more than $7. That's my limit. Because you'll see these online for, you know, $50 for people who are into TtV. And that's great. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I don't need a lot of them. I probably have about 12 now. Agfa is another brand. Let's see. Okay, this is the Duoflex 4, which looks kind of like that one. This is a Sunbeam 620, which is kind of nice. But I think the viewing screen on this is a little bit bigger than the viewing screen on the Duoflex. But the viewing screens that are kind of curved, that are more curved, are really the most sought after.
More curved.
Yes, because you get a little more distortion, you know, and who doesn't love distortion? Yes, another question?
Do you always take off the hood?
No, I never take off the hood. Some people do, just because this one, you can just about get away with it. This one, it seems to be a little more. It depends on how far the hood comes up, but you can generally get away without taking it off. But again, this one doesn't have it. It does make life a little easier. I just hate taking these cameras apart because I like them. Okay, everybody ready to see a box being made? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so who wants to come up here and help me measure? Sure. Okay, now, let's see. Let's see this.
Go around the other side of the table so you're not blocking the chart on that thing.
Oh, her. Okay, good. Oh, good.
Oh, I see it.
Oh, and she's cute. It's better. She's there. Okay. Okay. So first, what we're going to do is see if this camera fits in this box. Okay. So let's just kind of shove it in there and see how close we can get. I think that's going to work. You'll see that, obviously this doesn't go in there. Let's try it this way. But we're going to have to measure for that and cut a slit for that. Okay. And honestly, this one, if you've got a camera that you don't care about, you can just kind of shove it in there. But we'll do it right this time. Okay, so we've got this camera set up. All right, now let's see. All right. Okay, so from there, that looks pretty good.
Right.
Okay, so now we leave it. Don't touch anything. If anything moves, then all our measurements will be off. Okay, so why don't we're going to put this box in the bottom. So we have to measure from the bottom of the box
So over here?
to, yes, to here.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like 14 and a half.
14 and a half, okay. All right, so now let's measure the box.
What does the camera have?
Okay, so what did we say, 14 and a half?
Yeah.
That's good. All right, so we're just going to make a mark. And I said 14, yeah, it was a little there again. Okay. I'm going to now measure. I need a piece of tape here. Oh, thank you. My lovely assistant.
Tape girl, Vanna.
Vanna, yeah, okay. We're just going to temporarily tape this in case it doesn't quite work. Okay, and now we take this camera and we kind of use a pencil here. All right, we're kind of guessing here, but don't know if you can see this. I'm just taking the pencil and making a mark where I think the top of that lens is. Okay. So we've made a mark at the top of this lens. And as I said, it doesn't have to be this cutout. So we're going to make a cutout here. It doesn't have to be a circle. It can be, it can be cut down because no stray light is going to be getting in here. It's not going to be getting into your camera. So whatever comes in here is fine. It just has to be big enough so that this lens is free. Okay. And I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna include the bottom lens just because it's bigger, and I don't want it to kind of mess up. So we've got a mark.
Put some chalk on the outside of that. It would just make, like the tailor's chalk.
Right. You could do that. Okay. But this is much more high tech. Okay. So now, before we even do that, I'm going to see. Let me just see how this sits in here. Okay. Now you can see we measured. We measured to here, right? But I've got a little. It's kind of angled.
Oh, okay.
There's a little bump here.
So we've got like a little square around?
Yes. So let's find our. Where do we make our marks? Oh, on this side. Okay. So we're going to be looking. This is going to be pointing down, looking at the camera that's in here, and this bump is kind of in the way. So we're going to. I know I'm going to cut this, but I'm going to. This is where I have to make a little bit of a bump here. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now let's see how this fits in here. Not bad. I'm not going to take too much. You see how that is? It's really, I mean, this comes over it, so
A little bit.
just a drop. I'm going to try. So I'm just going to wing it here. So now let's try that. Okay, that looks pretty good, right? Okay,
And
can
it
everybody
fits
see
well
that?
there, too.
Hmm?
It fits well there.
Yeah, it does. Okay, good.
Fantastic.
Okay. All right, now this part you have to be a little, but I'm just going to start with a slit and a couple of cross slits so that I've got. Okay, so now we've got a somewhat symmetrical opening. Okay, I'm going to cut out just a little hole for this guy. I need this. If it's not perfect, you just make the hole bigger because there's no problem with light getting in through any of these holes. It's just a matter of making the camera fit comfortably in the box, and we do want our cameras to be comfortable with it. Okay, so let's see. Okay, all right, so the moment of truth. Okay. Look at that.
Exactly.
Wow.
Wow. Now we're going to test it. So I want you to put that in there and look through it
Why did you keep the strap? Why didn't you just take the strap
because
off?
couldn't get it off. There's like
Oh,
a.
that's cool.
What just cut off?
Okay.
You don't-
I could, but it's not in my way. Okay, now.
Okay. See some- I see you.
Okay, good. All right, and she's sharp there?
Uh,
No?
No.
Okay. You probably have to get a little closer. Oops. Oh, that's the other thing. I want you to do, this will drive you crazy. Look through here and
Okay.
try to focus on something. You can pick it up, carry it around.
Oh.
Oh,
okay, I see.
you see that?
Yeah.
So when something you want to move to the left,
You gotta go to the right.
you have to go to the right because everything is flipped.
Mhm.
All right, but now let's see how close you have to get to something. Like walk around and see, and let's see how close when something is in focus. Because
Oh, it
don't
just
forget.
went off. Oh.
Oh,
Oh, I see. Coming to take you away, ha ha, hee hee, ho ho.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.